Generosity is very personal to me. And I'm not just talking about being generous with money. I mean generosity in all interactions. How we give our time, our trust, our attention. How we show up for others. It's a principle I've carried with me ever since my time at the university. I worked at an institute where we had a well-established tradition. Students would write their master thesis in collaboration with companies. The idea was simple but powerful. Bring the academic and business worlds together. The companies would propose real-life problems, the students would tackle them, and I, as an assistant professor, would supervise the projects. In practice, these were like small consulting assignments. The companies paid a fee to the institute, and the students got the opportunity to work on something meaningful and applied. It was a win-win and a great learning experience, not just for the students, but also for me. My own professor had been a management consultant in Switzerland during the 1960s and 70s, and many assistant professors from the institute, myself included, went on to become consultants. It was part of our DNA, rigorous thinking applied to the real world. That period shaped the way I think about working with others. One of the key insights I took away is how much it matters to feel valued. When someone makes an effort to recognize your contribution, even just with a kind word or a small gesture, it changes the dynamic. You want to give more? Do better. And over time, that led me to one of my core professional principles. Be generous. The most important form of generosity for me is trust, upfront trust. When I begin working with someone, whether it's a client, a colleague, or a supplier, I don't hold back. I share what I know. I give context. I offer insight. I assume good intent. And I found that this mindset makes a real difference. When people feel trusted from the start, they often rise to the occasion. They give more, they do better. Of course, this approach doesn't always work. But if it works in 8 or 9 cases out of 10, the upside more than makes up for the rest. And it doesn't just apply to business. When I bought a house here in Santa Cruz de Tenerife, I started meeting all kinds of people, tradespeople, neighbors, small business owners. I approached those relationships with the same attitude. Openness, respect, and trust. And over time, those relationships turned into a support network, one that's proven incredibly reliable. Even in the middle of the night, if one of my tenants has an urgent issue, that kind of reliability grows from trust, not transactions. In procurement, we spend a lot of time talking about value, cost savings, performance, innovation. But generosity creates a kind of value that's harder to measure and yet incredibly powerful. It builds loyalty. It reveals potential. It creates a culture where people don't just meet expectations, they exceed them. I've seen this play out across industries. A young buyer who surprises everyone by stepping up to lead a supplier negotiation. A colleague who shares a bold idea because they feel safe doing so. A supplier who puts in extra effort because they know they're seen as a partner, not just as a vendor. None of this happens in environments that are closed, cautious, or overly controlled. It happens when people feel empowered, and that starts with being trusted. So my message today is simple. Be generous with your knowledge, with your time, with your trust. The return might not be immediate, but over time, it builds something far more valuable than what you gave. Thank you for watching. I'm Schuh, and this has been Procurement in the Park.